throw away that old stale bread, you can make a wonderful dessert, old-fashioned bread pudding.
Now, our ancestors did not throw away old bread, old biscuits, donuts, rolls, whatever they had, they made bread pudding out of it. Or they might have made dressing if they had cornbread to go with it. So we're starting out with 6 slices of day-old bread. And we're just going to crumble it up in little pieces. Now, if you do not have day-old bread, you just want to make bread pudding, you can lay your bread out and just let it kind of air dry for a few hours, just to kind of get it a little stale. And what this does, it helps it absorb the custard more. Now, I did not grow up eating bread pudding. I never actually had any till I married my husband, and it was something that his family did all the time. And when you're making bread pudding, they were usually using up what they had there in the house. Now, over this bread, I'm going to pour 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter over it. Just kind of mix it up. Just kind of spread it out. And then I'm going to make my custard. Okay, now to this, I've got 4 to 5 eggs. It kind of depends on how big your eggs are. A cup of sugar. Now this could be 3/4 cup of sugar, a whole cup of sugar. If you just didn't happen to have white sugar, you know, you might have used brown sugar. Just whatever you happen to have. To this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon and a teaspoon of vanilla. Now this could be, instead of cinnamon, it could be apple pie spice, it could be pumpkin pie spice, just something kind of give it a little more flavor. Of course, you want to use real vanilla. And to this, I'm going to add 2 cups of milk. Now, depending on your, you know, this could be canned milk, whole milk, light milk, you know, whatever you happen to have. And if you just don't even drink milk, you could use any of the milk substitutes like cocoa milk, almond milk, any of those. Okay. And then you're just going to pour it over your bread. You're going to just kind of push this down in there. You want to make sure the bread gets good and saturated. And you're probably going to need to let this set 5 minutes, 10 minutes to make sure it's all saturated. Okay, I've kind of let this set about 5 minutes. I'm pushing all this down in there to make sure it's all underneath. Well, it's not going to be completely underneath the custard, but I want it kind of down in there. And anytime I'm baking, I like to, especially something that might spill or bubble over, I like to put it in another baking pan and then put it in the oven. Now I'm going to put this in the oven. I'm going to set my timer for about 45 minutes, but I'm going to check it after about 30 and see how it's looking. It wants to be golden brown, and when I touch it, I want it to spring back. Okay, it's come out of the oven and it should be springy.
You want to start with an 8x8 pan, or it could even be a skillet. 6 slices of stale bread, or 5 to 6 cups of torn stale biscuits, rolls, donuts, bread, or any combination, whatever you happen to have. 2 to 3 tablespoons of melted butter. 4 to 5 eggs, 3/4 to 1 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon or apple pie spice or pumpkin spice, a teaspoon of vanilla, and optional, you could certainly add nutmeg, and 2 cups of milk. Now you could also add a half a cup of raisins, cranberries, chopped apples, or nuts. Bake at 350 degrees 40 to 50 minutes until it is browned and the center springs back. The bread pudding will be puffy when it comes out of the oven and then will deflate, and let it cool before serving.
Okay, my bread pudding has deflated since it first came out of the oven. I know all the newer recipes calls for a sauce, maybe a whiskey sauce, vanilla sauce, a praline sauce. But it is just perfect, just like this.
If you've never made bread pudding before, now's your time to try. And like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss any more of homemade cooking.